Welcome to the Cenario podcast, your guide to mental health and well-being. Each episode, we uncover practical tools, discuss expert insights, and explore how supplements can transform your mental health journey. Get ready to learn, grow, and thrive with us.
Welcome to the deep dive. You know, if the stress of modern life feels, well, less like a temporary thing and more like it's just moved in permanently, you're definitely not alone. We're all kind of looking for that off switch. And today, we're digging into the body's stress response system, really focusing on the science of its main regulator, cortisol. You shared a great stack of research for this deep dive, and it all seems to emphasize natural, proactive strategies.
That's right.
So that's our mission today, understand the hormonal side of stress and the growing interest in these natural remedies. Let's maybe start with cortisol itself. It gets a bad rap as the stress hormone, but it's not really the villain, is it?
No, absolutely not. It's fundamental. It's released by our adrenal glands, and it's essential for so many things like waking us up, managing inflammation, blood sugar. It's vital.
Right.
It's the body's crucial first responder. Cortisol is designed for those short-term acute situations, run from the bear, fight off an infection. The real problem, and what the sources highlight, is when that signal just never turns off. Your body's alarm system, the HPA axis, that's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, gets stuck in the on position chronically.
Right.
And when that HPA axis is just constantly activated, cortisol levels stay high. And that cascade leads to those really draining symptoms that mess with daily life. More anxiety, that persistent deep fatigue, and sleep that's just terrible night after night.
Yeah, the wired but tired feeling.
Exactly. So we're looking at natural ways to help, regulate that whole feedback loop.
That seems to be the core of it, finding tools to sort of nudge that feedback loop back into balance without just masking symptoms. So our mission today is really to pull out those key nuggets about adaptogens and essential nutrients, the tools that are designed to help the body find its balance again, naturally recalibrate that HPA axis.
And what's really interesting is how the search for natural solutions points to a bigger shift, right? People aren't just after a quick fix anymore. They're looking for holistic approaches, things that support the body's own processes. They want resilience, not just reliance on something external.
Yeah, it's more about empowering the body from within. And based on the research you shared, these natural solutions seem to fall into two main groups, and they seem connected. You've got adaptogens and these sort of smart modulators, and then the essential nutrients, which are almost like the basic building blocks the system needs to even work properly.
Precisely. Foundational.
Okay, let's tackle those modulators first. Adaptogens. Sounds a bit scientific, but I gather they're basically specialized herbs.
Yeah, that's right. They're a really powerful class of herbs known for helping the body literally adapt to stress, whether it's physical, chemical, biological, and bring things back towards balance. Homeostasis.
So they don't just treat one symptom, they kind of normalize the whole system's response.
Exactly. They help restore that critical communication pathway between the brain and the adrenal glands. And when we look at the clinical data, one really stands out, ashwagandha or Withania somnifera. It consistently comes up as a potent stress reliever.
And the sources actually gave us a number on that, which was pretty striking.
They did. There's compelling evidence from clinical trials showing that even short-term structured use of ashwagandha can lower overall circulating cortisol levels by, well, a measurable and significant amount, up to 23%.
Wow. Okay, 23%. Just to put that in perspective for you listening, that feels like enough of a drop physiologically to potentially shift someone out of that constant low-grade anxiety and exhaustion state, right? It's not just a tiny tweak.
Precisely. And the mechanism is really key. Ashwagandha seems to help sort of dampen the hyperreactivity of the adrenals. It helps resensitize the HPA axis so it stops overreacting to every little thing. Then you've got rhodiola rosea. This one targets maybe a slightly different aspect of the stress fallout. While ashwagandha is often highlighted for generalized anxiety, rhodiola seems particularly good for tackling the mental side effects of chronic stress, specifically that deep fatigue and what we actually call burnout.
Ah, okay.
Studies show it can improve mental performance, focus, endurance, which is huge when you feel like stress has just drained your brain.
That really tracks. So rhodiola is maybe what you reach for when the stress hasn't just made you anxious, but it's literally wiped out your cognitive energy. But that brings up an interesting point, practically speaking. If rhodiola boosts mental performance, how do we make sure we're not just using it to, paper over the cracks of burnout, just pushing through.
That's a really crucial distinction. These adaptogens should be seen as support, definitely not as a substitute for actual rest and recovery. The goal isn't just to push harder, it's to lower the body's perception of stress so that rest can actually be restorative again. If you keep running on fumes, terrible sleep, high stress, while taking rhodiola, yeah, you're just masking the underlying depletion. They work best when they're part of a bigger picture that includes proper rest.
Well, integrated.
And we should probably give a quick mention to other adaptogens that popped up in the sources, things like holy basil, ginseng, cordyceps. They're often included in stress formulas for their balancing and anti-inflammatory effects too. It all points back to supporting systemic resilience.
Okay, so adaptogens are the smart modulators. But what really struck me reading through the material was the emphasis on the basics, the foundational stuff. Like, none of this fancy regulation can happen if the body doesn't have the raw materials it needs.
That's absolutely pivotal. And we have to talk about magnesium. This mineral is involved in hundreds, literally hundreds, of processes in the body. Critically, it's vital for calming the nervous system down.
How does it do that?
Well, it helps regulate neurotransmitters. Specifically, it supports GABA receptors, which are responsible for the relaxing, inhibitory side of our nervous system. It helps put the brakes on. And the science here is pretty clear. Low magnesium levels are often linked to higher cortisol, more tension, trouble falling asleep. And it's a bit of a vicious cycle. When you're stressed, your body actually uses up magnesium faster.
So being stressed can actually cause a deficiency that makes the stress response worse.
Exactly. So supplementing with magnesium isn't just a nice-to-have for general health.
No.
For someone under chronic stress, it might actually be filling a critical gap that's actively fueling that stress response.
Right.
And supplementing can help not just potentially lower cortisol, but also directly improve things like blood pressure and definitely sleep quality. It helps with that wired but tired feeling because it promotes muscle relaxation too. We often suggest taking it in the evening for that reason.
Okay, that makes practical sense.
Another absolute cornerstone nutrient here, omega-3 fatty acids, especially EPA and DHA. We talk about them all the time for heart health, brain health.
Sure. Fish oil, flax seeds.
Right. But the studies show they play a dramatic role in dampening the inflammatory part of the stress response. Inflammation and chronic stress are tightly linked.
Yeah, that 33% reduction number you mentioned from the sources, that really jumped out. Why such a massive drop in cortisol with omega-3s?
It seems to be a potent anti-inflammatory effect that works centrally in the brain. Chronic stress drives up inflammation throughout the body, including inflammatory signals called cytokines. Omega-3s help dial down these pro-inflammatory signals that basically tell the brain we're under attack.
Wow.
So here's that crucial nugget again. Daily omega-3 supplementation in some studies led to a really remarkable 33% decrease in cortisol. I mean, an impact that large positions omega-3s as really critical players here, not just, background support.
A third less cortisol, potentially. That's
Yeah.
a pretty powerful motivator to make sure you're getting enough healthy fats, isn't it?
Definitely. And let's not forget vitamin C. Its role might seem a bit indirect compared to, say, ashwagandha, but it's vital because the highest concentration of vitamin C in the entire body is found right there in the adrenal glands.
Ah, okay. So it directly supports the very glands that are working overtime during chronic stress.
Precisely. The adrenals need vitamin C to actually synthesize and manage stress hormones properly. So making sure you're not deficient helps ensure the adrenals have the resources they need physically. It supports a healthier stress response overall, and it also helps the immune system, which, as we know, takes a hit from chronic stress.
Okay. And finally, you mentioned amino acids briefly. The sources noted their importance for active people, but it goes beyond just muscle recovery, right?
Absolutely. While they do help manage cortisol during intense exercise, certain amino acids are actually direct building blocks for key calming neurotransmitters in the brain.
Like which ones?
Well, think of L-theanine, the compound often found in green tea. It's known to cross the blood-brain barrier and promote those relaxing alpha brainwaves. Another big one is tryptophan, which is the precursor to serotonin, our feel-good neurotransmitter.
Right.
So making sure the body has enough of these precursors essentially fuels the production of the very brain chemicals that help counteract anxiety and high stress.
This all raises a really important question, though. We've got these specific potentially powerful tools, herbs modulating, nutrients building, but how do we actually put them together effectively? The sources were really clear that this isn't just about popping pills. It works best alongside lifestyle changes.
Yeah, supplements are definitely not a magic bullet or a shortcut around the fundamentals. You can take the best, most expensive ashwagandha, but if you're only sleeping 4 hours a night and living on processed food, you're fighting a losing battle.
So for practical integration, you listening need to think holistically. That means things like regular, moderate exercise, not overdoing it, but consistent movement. Dedicated stress management techniques, meditation, yoga, deep breathing, whatever works to consciously shift your nervous system down.
Crucial.
And of course, maintaining a balanced anti-inflammatory diet based on whole foods.
And we also need to talk about precision. Dosage matters, but so does timing. We mentioned magnesium often works best in the evening to help with sleep.
Right.
Omega-3s are fat-soluble, so taking them with a meal improves absorption. Being intentional about when you take these things can significantly boost how well they work.
Okay, and since we are talking about supplements, which is a huge market out there, we absolutely have to cover safety, suitability, and also maybe a bit about consumer awareness. You need to know not just what might help, but how to choose a good quality product.
Yes, that's a key deep dive nugget right there. Because adaptogens especially are potent biological modulators, the quality and standardization of the product really matter. You want to look for standardized extracts.
What does that mean exactly?
So for ashwagandha, for example, look for products that specify the percentage of active compounds, like with Analyze, or use well-researched branded extracts like KSM-66 or Sensoril. For omega-3s, look for third-party testing seals that confirm purity and check for things like heavy metals.
That's really practical advice. It turns you from just a passive consumer into someone actively vetting what you're buying.
Exactly. Now, regarding caution, consultation with a healthcare professional is just non-negotiable. Always, always talk to your doctor or a qualified practitioner before starting any new supplement regimen.
Especially if you have other health conditions or take medications.
Absolutely. Interactions are definitely possible. And we have to highlight specific contraindications. Certain groups need to be extra cautious. Pregnant or breastfeeding women, for sure. And individuals with some autoimmune conditions should be careful with adaptogens as they do modulate the immune system.
Good point.
And finally, while most of these things are generally well tolerated, side effects can happen, usually mild, maybe some stomach upset. The sensible approach is always to start low with a smaller dose, see how your body reacts, and then gradually increase to the recommended therapeutic dose if needed. Assess your own tolerance.
Okay, that's wise.
So just to recap where we've been, we've established that chronic high cortisol often stems from this HPA axis feedback loop getting stuck.
Right, the alarm system won't shut off.
Exactly. And we've seen that managing it really needs a multi-pronged approach, using potent adaptogens like ashwagandha with that potential 23% cortisol reduction by helping modulate the axis and also shoring up foundational nutrients like omega-3s, which showed that really impressive potential 33% reduction, likely by tackling inflammation.
So what does this all boil down to for you, the listener? I think the big takeaway is that the effectiveness of these natural tools isn't just about what supplement you pick, even if it's a high-quality standardized one. It's really about how you use it.
Yes.
It's about thoughtful timing, responsible vetting of the product quality, and crucially, combining it synergistically with those fundamental lifestyle changes. Sleep, diet, stress management.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If critical thinking is so vital in today's world, with all the information flying around, think about how applying that same critical lens to how and when you use these natural tools, monitoring their effects, understanding the interactions, transforms it. It moves beyond just passively taking a supplement.
Right.
It becomes an active, managed, and truly holistic strategy for your long-term health and vitality. Ultimately, the most powerful tool might just be your own informed, consistent action.
Thanks for tuning in to the Cenario podcast. Don't forget to visit Cenario.com for more expert tips, articles, and supplements designed to support your mental health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with a friend. Until next time, take care of yourself.